Okay, for real this time, we will now call this meeting to order.
Hi, my name is Diana. I am the Director of Outreach and I use she, her pronouns. And I will be doing the land and enslaved laborers acknowledgement. So we wish to acknowledge that the University of Virginia sits on the homeland of the Monacan Nation, whose members remain a vital part of the local community, and that UVA's original structures were built and maintained by enslaved laborers. We further wish to acknowledge the history of violence, displacement, and racism that led to UVA's establishment and maintenance. It is important for us as the university community to reflect and address the complicated past and present of our university during our time here as students. And I'll also drop in the chat a link where you can find the land that you are sitting on today.
Hi, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. You've had a good beginning to your week. I'm Ellen. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the president of Student Council. It's great to see all of you here. My first reminder that I want to give is that elections are happening this week, not just for Student Council, but also for Class Council, for Honor, for UJC, and several other different just like student government organizations around grounds. As you all know, voter engagement is super important. That's how we pick people we want to represent us and be our voice and people we want to work with moving forward. So you all are encouraged to vote, and you're encouraged to spread the word about voting. Voting opens tomorrow at 10 a.m. and closes on Friday at 4 p.m. And you should be getting a link emailed to you, and you can vote online. So don't worry about having to go anywhere in person. Second thing is, as I mentioned, I think last week, I've helped convene a series of discussions about student self-governance, how it works, if it's working the right way, if it's serving the people it should be serving, if it's accessible enough. We had our first meeting this past Sunday, and it went very well. I'm excited about the discussions we'll continue having in the next few weeks. I'll pass it over to Dorina.
Hello, everyone. So a few things for me. Just a reminder to everyone to complete your GenBot and community events requirements. Chairs, maybe you might want to invite your committee to attend a GenBot together as a bonding thing. We're going to pass on sort of everyone, the list and the names of everyone who completed the requirements to the next admin as just information that they can use for whatever they might need. So it's important that you complete it on time. A few other things. I had the last meeting today as the chair of the Student Legal Services Advisory Board. So at our meeting, we reappointed a non-student member for another 3-year term and then voted on the fiscal year 21-22 budget. Now it's on the way to the SAC committee for final vote and approval. And then chairs, please keep an eye out for communication from me about prepping to close out for our term. Most importantly, start your transition docs now, because institutional knowledge is really important to pass on. And then next week, you'll get a spring 2021 budget reallocation bill, just to move some fund arounds to match the needs of our chairs and our committees. And then for the attendance code word for today, it is spring, and I'll put that in the chat, and that's all for me.
Hi guys, Chevy here, VPO. I use she, her pronouns. Some quick updates are that Rolling Round 2 just finished, so allocations for that will be out on Friday, and that Rolling Round 3 is in another week. So starting the 23rd, ending the 30th, that's the last time for CIOs to apply for funding for the semester. As always, we encourage that anybody who has questions about that reaches out, comes to office hours. And we have our first org bill of the semester today, so that's super exciting. We've got 2 excellent organizations on there, so that'll come up a little later. That's all. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name is John Kraus-Steinroff. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the Chief of Cabinet. My only update is that we had a wonderful cabinet meeting with all of the cabinet vice chairs recently, and I just wanted to give a shout out to them because I know the work they did is so useful to our committees and helps make everything function. So thank you so much.
Hey guys, my name is Noah. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the Director of University Relations. The last newsletter of this administration is coming out next week. I sent the doc to leadership and reps earlier today in Slack, so be sure to submit your content for that. And then I'm working on legislation to institutionalize the Survivor Support and Prevention Coalition with Abel and Ryan. That should be coming up probably at GenBod next week. And I think Ryan has some additional updates on that for you all later. But that's all for me.
Hi, my name is Diana. Again, I'm the Director of Outreach and I use she, her pronouns. So I have a couple updates today. I created a community event stock, which I will drop in the channel, in the chat. And so these are events that all qualify for the community events membership requirement. And so these are events that are happening like way in advance so that people have more time to plan. And then I'll also be posting the day before the events. I'll post in the community event Slack channel, just a reminder to attend if you can. And then we have 3 events that are occurring tomorrow that all qualify for the community events membership requirement. The first one is Approaching Women's History Month Through a Decolonial Lens. And this event is tomorrow, Wednesday, March 17th from 6 to 7 p.m. And then the second one is African Revolutionaries. This is an event put on by OAS and the Organization of African Students and the Minority Rights Coalition. And this will happen tomorrow from starting at 6 p.m. And then another event called Let's Talk About It by the Afro-Latinx Student Organization. And so this event's happening tomorrow at 7 p.m. And you can find more information about the Zoom link on their Instagram, also at UVA. And that's all from me.
Hi, everybody. My name's Abel Liu. I use he, him, and his pronouns, and I'm the chair of our representative body. Reps, just a reminder that if you want to turn your videos on during your speeches in ledge session, just let us know. We'll do our best to turn those on quickly. I have an update on the Cahoots program that I've been working on with Akshi, Ryan, as well as a number of external groups at UVA. Tomorrow, I have a meeting with the interim acting VPSA to talk about the program in relation to student health and ways that we might be able to collaborate with their program to make it possible. I also have a call with Dr. Brady of UVA Health, who deals with their emergency management systems. So those would be critical steps in building this program and hopefully setting up a pilot sometime soon. And then I'm not sure if I don't think I've updated GenBod, but Representative Samantha Santana and I of CITIC, Samantha Santana of CITIC and I secured a $6,000 grant for the Disability Accommodations Access Fund, which brings me to my next reminder. Please remember to vote for the constitutional amendments in the election on Tuesday, one of which does codify our support and access services. The Disability Accommodations Access Fund is one of those services, and it will make it easier for us to consolidate, expand, and fund all of those if that amendment passes. And then reps, no rep meeting this week. Take care of yourselves through midterms, but next week we will meet to discuss transition documents. Thanks.
I can start us off with leadership updates from the cabinet. So first, we have a couple short updates from committees about upcoming events. And I think our only update is from diversity engagement, so I'll pass it off to them. It's conceivable our diversity engagement chair isn't here right now. So I'll pass it back to him after we do some other updates real quick.
Hey, I'm sorry about that. I didn't have the ability to unmute. I think I wasn't made a co-host. Sorry to interrupt. Can I go now, or we could just come back later?
Yes, absolutely. My bad. Yes, I forgot about all that. You go for it.
Totally fine. Thank you. Real quick, I just wanted to let you all know that Disability Awareness Week is happening next week. Laura from my committee, Rahima, and some other members have been working super hard on getting this off the ground. So we're super excited to finally see this come to fruition. Basically, we've got a 6 p.m. workshop on Monday, and then we're actually hosting in collaboration with the Virginia Book Festival, Judith Heumann, who's a disability activist who is going to be giving a speech on her memoir at 7 p.m. So that's something to look forward to as well. And then on Wednesday at 7 p.m., we have a panel featuring members from CITIC who will be speaking about their experiences with disability allyship, intersectionality, and just general disability awareness among the student body. So those are all things that graphics will be coming out for shortly. So things to look out for, and please encourage everyone to attend. And yeah, really excited that this finally came together.
Thank you so much, Ilyas. Fantastic. And next, we'll have a couple of committee spotlights, which will be short 4-minute in-depth presentations about what a committee has been working on, and they'll be followed by time for Q&A. And so we'll have those from the community engagement and financial accessibility committees tonight. So I'll pass it over to Vivian from community engagement to start us off.
Hey guys, my name is Vivian. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a 3rd year, and I'm the chair of the Community Engagement Committee. So let me go ahead and share my screen for you guys. All right, can you guys all see this? Perfect. I'll pass it off to Rourke Corson, my vice chair, to just start talking about some of our initiatives.
Hey everyone, hope everyone is having a good night. I'm Rourke, I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the vice chair. After last semester's successful peer housing document, we are trying to get that information onto a designated tab on the Student Council website so that students will be able to easily access it, and future generations of the committee will be able to have it in one place and edit it in a very easy way. We are also trying to figure out the best way to get this info to first years as early as possible, because we all know how important it is. And we're thinking about trying to work with orientation to get it on the orientation checklist, but we're also trying to balance that with making sure it's not too stressful for students to be thinking about housing the second that they step foot on grounds. And we're just going to be working on this for the rest of the semester. Thank you.
Awesome. I'll pass it off to Jessica to speak on Service Scholar.
Hi everyone, I'm Jessica. I'm a 2nd year. I use she, her pronouns. The Service Scholar Initiative's goal is basically to promote community service within the UVA community and recognize students who hit certain hour thresholds. Our current cutoff for Service Scholar is 300 total hours across 4 years, or 75 hours per year. If you guys reach this, you get a cord for graduation, which is very exciting. And there are other thresholds such as gold, silver, and bronze, which are also recognized as well. All the info about Service Scholar is on our website, which is on the slide. I can also send it in the chat later on. All hours are due April 9th, so submit any hours if you guys have any. And also this year, due to COVID, we are taking the pandemic into consideration, and we will be adjusting the thresholds as we see fit. So even if you don't think you hit a threshold, still submit, because you never know. And I guess right now our goal is to try and spread the word about our initiative. So if you have, or if you're in any service CIOs and are willing to promote Service Scholar, that'd be great. And you can Slack me if you want the flyer.
Amazing. Okay, next we're going to have Kelsey speak on the Custodial Appreciation Initiative.
Hi, I'm Kelsey. I'm a 1st year. I also use she, her pronouns. And the Custodial Appreciation Initiative is, we're just basically trying to do everything we can to show our appreciation for all the custodians who have been working really hard to keep grounds safe and clean for us. And upcoming is we're going to make thank you posters the weekend of March 27th and just hang them all around grounds to show our appreciation. And then at the end of the semester, we're going to get all of the dorms to write thank you cards to give to the custodians.
Dope. Okay, we'll pass it on to Cutter to talk about Local Leadership Liaison.
Hi everybody, my name is Cutter. I'm a 2nd year here, and I use he, him pronouns. So the Local Leadership Liaison is just a position that we created this year, or at least updated from the past, with the goal to kind of bring groups together from the university community and link them with groups of similar interest out in the Charlottesville community, as well as Albemarle County. And so since our last update last semester, we've gone to quite a few meetings in those 2 bodies and identified kind of 2 most important meetings that we are getting the best info from, and those the general body meetings in the city and the county. So meetings very similar to this, but just in those respective bodies. And some topics that we've identified that we'll be able to start kind of knitting these groups together in the future. And that's what we'll be working on in the next couple of months and semesters are climate action, transportation in and around the Charlottesville region, and then potentially, this is the big one, affordable housing. I know UVA is getting into that realm as well. So those are just 3 quick topics, and we're looking forward to working on those more in the future.
Amazing. And I'll go ahead and explain our most recent new initiative, and that's service training. It's something that the committee has been trying to take on through the past terms, and it's something now with the help of Hannah Koizumi, the chair of the Legislative Affairs Committee, that we're able to try and start getting it moving. So that's just kind of making a mandatory service training for all service CIOs, organizations, and classes at the university that are involved with community service in the Charlottesville community. And that's just educating them on their presence in the community and how it's important to take in the community's needs and prioritize those over what we think is best. And so just some upcoming things for that is a new resolution that's going to be put up into the legislative section. And I think in a couple of weeks, and that's sponsored by Ryan Alcorn and Ryan Kahn. And then what our committee is currently working on is just coming up with a running list of CIOs, groups, and courses at the university so that we're able to have a concise place and we know who to reach out with, who will be needing to implement this mandatory training. So that's it from us, unless there's any questions or anything.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Vivian, and the whole committee. That was so fantastic, and it's so wonderful to hear all of your updates. With that, I'll pass it over to Cece from Financial Accessibility for their committee spotlight.
Amazing. Hello. This is not what I meant to do. Can people see my screen?
I think we just saw a whiteboard, but we're not seeing anything at the moment.
Stressful. Okay, no, I figured it out.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Cece. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a second year in the college, and I'm chair of the Financial Accessibility Committee. So I'm going to be explaining a couple of our initiatives from this past semester, and then I'll pass it off to some of my lovely committee members. So the first one I want to talk about is the First Generation Low Income Advocacy Board, which hopefully will be passing tonight officially. This is made up of the FGLI First Gen Low Income Coalition. So there's reps from the Financial Accessibility Committee, Questbridge Scholars, FLIP, Who's First Look, Undock UVA, as well as Rise Together. And then included in legislation are 3 appointed positions so that people that are part of the FGLI community, but not necessarily within these organizations, can also be involved in that advocacy work. And hopefully this will serve as kind of a general advisory board for SFS going forward that plans to meet once a month throughout the school year and also throughout the summer, because that's when SFS is putting together a lot of their policies. So a couple of the main things that we want to focus on, we've discussed with SFS, bringing in people from student health to get rid of the SIS medical bill hold, where a hold goes on your account if you're not able to pay your medical bills in time. And so you can't like register for classes and change classes and things like that. So that's something SFS is very interested in working on with us, which is super exciting. They also really want a lot of input on CARES money allocation and publicizing policies to students. So students understand like where it is coming from and when policies change, that they know that that's happening in advance. The other one I'm going to talk about is a scholarship for descendants of enslaved laborers. I forgot to put the word descendants in there. And right now, my committee is watching legislation progress through the state legislative bodies. So right now, there is a bill that just passed through the House of Delegates that would make it mandatory for UVA and a couple other of state schools to create a scholarship for descendants of enslaved laborers that built these schools. And so it's currently in committee in the state Senate, and we're watching it and making sure that when it gets out of committee that we can lobby it through the state Senate so that that can pass and be implemented at UVA. And now I'm going to pass it off to Nyana, who's going to talk about our social media launch that just happened this last month.
Hi everyone, I'm Nyana. I'm a third year in comm and I'm on the Financial Accessibility Committee. I use she, her pronouns. I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about our social media launch. So we've been using Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook to post infographics every Friday. In the infographics, there's information and resources from the Guide to Being Not Rich at UVA, which is a guide that is by and for students. And the FGLI Coalition stands for First Generation Low Income. So a couple of the posts that have already been made are about how to fill out the FAFSA if you're undocumented or a DACA recipient, and also how to apply for different scholarships and financial aid. And then some upcoming things that I'll be posting about are students' favorite deals in Charlottesville, how to get health insurance, housing, food, all at affordable prices. I'll also be reposting coalition posts and any other pertinent information from other organizations so that all the resources and helpful information is in one place. So if you would please give these social media accounts a follow, I'll drop them in the chat. They're also on the slide, but we would really love if everyone could just follow us and engage with our infographics. That'd be awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Amazing. Thanks, Diana. I'm going to pass it off to Sylvie now to talk about our project and initiative to lower the general cost of attendance at UVA.
Hi, I'm Sylvie. I'm a first year in the College of Arts and Sciences, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm on the team that's working to advocate for lower cost of non-tuition attendance fees at UVA, and some of these fees include laundry, printing, textbooks, and other course materials that are kind of like hidden costs to attending school that students might not be aware of when they enroll in a course or just enroll in the school in general. We're currently working with members of the organizational branch to research the cost of laundry printing tuition at peer institutions like UNC, UMich, Vandy, etc. And as well as how some of these schools have reduced the cost or found ways to include these costs in room and board as well, just to see what we can do at UVA. And in the next week, we plan to publicize the Data Science Committee's report on course materials and how they might impact what classes students take and whether or not students are actually buying these required materials. We're also going to use that report to lobby UVA administration to change textbook policies. And we're meeting with department heads to discuss specifically making NWAR course materials fully open source and available online, and other big lecture courses that have required materials and prerequisites, just because these are courses that a lot of students are taking. And if we can make these textbooks available online or have an open source, then that could go a long way in making UVA more affordable for students.
Awesome. And lastly, I'm going to pass it off to Sarah to talk about our SNAP and Medicaid workshops.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah. I'm a first year and I use she, her pronouns, and I'm part of the Financial Accessibility Committee. I'm on a team that's been designing the SNAP/Medicaid workshops and working to educate students on what public benefits they qualify for and how to apply to them. Another added layer of being a first-gen or low-income college student is having to seek out resources available to you, and we hope to make these more accessible for students in need. We're also filming a short video with this workshop information that's going to be posted on the FGLI Coalition social media accounts. And the video will walk students through the application process, direct them to where to find these resources, and explain what they need to have ready to apply. We're also putting out an insurance side-by-side this week to compare the UVA health insurance plan with the Virginia Medicaid plan. And the graphic will include what each plan covers and who qualifies and how to apply. And the goal is to get students who qualify for Medicaid to switch because they could pay nothing instead of $2,800 per semester through the UVA insurance plan, as insurance is mandatory for all graduate and undergrad students. So this is really applicable to every student. And then lastly, we're also working with admin to integrate the workshops into the optional program at UVA orientation every year, so we can publicize them to students and their families before they have to apply for either insurance plan.
Awesome. Thank you all. And we'll open it up to any questions that anybody has now.
Well, thank you so much, Cece and the committee. That was wonderful. And if anybody does have any questions and want to ask them privately, feel free to reach out via email to any of those folks. So thank you all so much. That's it for Cabinet tonight.
All right. Oh, sorry. From admin, we'll start off with alumni relations.
Hello, I'm Sasha, she, they pronouns, Director of Alumni Relations. I have one update and one call to action. With the help of Ryan, we've started working with the University of Michigan LSA student government to help them establish their own alumni relations committee. I'm hopeful that this partnership can make some exciting projects happen in the future. And now we have another knowledge resource that we can kind of go to whenever, I don't know, we're experiencing something that's specific to student council needs. And then my call to action is, if you've been in student council for a long time, or if you have a lot of student council related documents on your computer, things like attendance lists, committee rosters, emails, whatever you think is appropriate, I would really love to hear from you. We're trying to expand our list of contacts and names and grow our institutional knowledge, and those kinds of things could be super helpful in this process. So you can Slack me or you can email me. It's on the website, but also studco-alumni@virginia.edu.
All right, thank you for that. And next we have membership.
Hello everyone, my name is Diane Jung and I'm the Director of Membership, pronouns are she, her. Before I get in, all the forms I'll be mentioning tonight will be sent in the chat after I give my update. So first of all, there's a virtual escape room happening tomorrow at 7 p.m. We have some great selections of escape rooms, so please fill out the interest form and try to attend, it's gonna be fun. And second, the membership committee will be hosting public speaking workshop on Monday, March 22nd at 7 p.m. Tova Close, lecturer at UVA Department of Drama, who teaches speaking in public class, would be the guest speaker for this workshop. So, and this event is open to general student bodies, so spread the word, fill out the interest form, and try to attend. And last but not least, graduating members and reps. We're currently accepting orders for the graduation court, and the order form will actually close today at 11:59 Eastern Standard Time. There's full and partial financial assistance for those in need, and we really want to recognize all your hard work and dedication, so please submit your order form. And if you have any questions about the graduation court, please reach out to my vice chair, Kaylee Walsh, and that is it for me.
And that's all for us.
Okay, Org Branch has no updates, so we'll move to Ebel with rep updates.
All right, reps, if you have any reports, just raise your hand. We'll unmute you. Give it a second. Ryan, go ahead. Oh, sorry, Ryan, you're still muted.
Thank you. I always go first, so I was going to wait. So two quick things. Vivian said it really well, so I won't repeat it, but I'm excited to support the legislation on volunteer training before engaging in the Charlottesville community. And then two, I'm excited to play a small role in helping the Prevention and Survivor Support Evaluative Team to create a new advisory committee that will function as a coalition of survivor support student organizations that's going to advocate for student-centered university policy reform and improvement. I've formatted the proposal into a bill, which will be included in next week's docket, so reps, keep an eye out for it. Thanks.
All right, that's it from us. Thank you.
Okay, now we will move into public comment. Just as a reminder, I'll call you in the order in which the names are written on the spreadsheet, and you get 2 minutes to speak. After 2 minutes, we'll cut you off. So first up is Victoria Spieto.
Please raise your hand if you, oh, there you go, sorry.
Am I allowed to turn on video, or that's not allowed?
I think Dwayne figuring it out.
You should have just got a notification.
Hello. I have something to read about the legislation about cancel culture. So I know I have 2 minutes. Okay. My name is Victoria Spiato, and I'm the chair of Young Americans for Freedom at UVA. I'm a conservative, and there's nothing wrong with that. Right of center students were accepted and welcomed into this community, just like every member of this representative body. This is not new information. I would like each representative to be honest with themselves and answer these questions. Am I being fair to all members of the community I represent? Am I allowing my political affiliation and bias to unfairly drive my conduct toward conservative students? It is time to be honest. You know that YAF at UVA did nothing wrong. YAF at UVA has not once incited violence. You know that you have unfairly and unequally judged, ridiculed, and slandered the conservative community. It is shameful that our club had to put up banners 3 times because each time one was taken down and stolen. It is shameful or stolen. It is shameful that students took down one of these signs and replaced it with defamatory, vulgar rhetoric. It is shameful that people publicly labeled conservatives as Nazis, minimizing the danger of that evil. The students who did this did not only participate in theft and trespassing, they also violated the honor code and the community of trust. Despite knowing about verifiable examples of harassment, theft, and threats, the Student Council has not taken a stand to find common ground and transcend political differences. It is therefore shameful that members of this body have slandered our CIO, targeted our members, failed to act even when made aware of severe bullying, and described our valid complaints as victimization. Conservatism is a valid, long-standing ideology that deserves a fair shot in this marketplace of ideas. If you choose to limit that marketplace and to ignore the safety issues that our club has faced because of your inability to see past political differences and bias, that is on your conscience, not ours. Our chapter was approved by this very representative body last year. We are a part of this university just like you. We have stood up for what we believe. We are a part of UVA. We are a part of the community of trust. And like all approved clubs, we are supposed to be represented and our concerns are supposed to be heard. On your honor, will you uphold your representative responsibility and treat all students, including those with political
Victoria, that's been 2 minutes.
with equally applied standards of respect and fairness?
It's been 2 minutes, so I'm gonna have to cut you off.
And implore the Student Council to stop canceling.
Victoria, I'm gonna ask that you follow the rules alongside everybody else. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you.
Next up, we have Eleni.
Hi, can you guys also let me turn on my camera as well? Oh, there we go. All right. Sorry. Thank you. So, hi, my name is Eleni Fafudis. I'm the president and founder of the All Girls STEM Society, one of the CIOs that you'll be voting on tonight. And I just wanted to speak very briefly. I use she, her as pronouns. I'm a 3rd year in the college. And I'm here with one of my curriculum heads, Amy Sohn, tonight. I just want to say thank you guys so much for consideration, for organization. It feels just like yesterday. It was a day in September when I sat down to recruit some friends and found a service club. And I did not think that we would have the privilege of potentially becoming a CIO so soon, nor did I believe that we would see the expansion that we have. Thank you so much for giving the opportunity to spread our message and our mission. Our goal has been and always will be service first. Our organization works with women, but also those of racial and socioeconomic minority, so that they too might find their passion for STEM and the confidence in themselves to achieve their goals. We hope that through our work here, you'll see a future with an exceedingly diverse STEM profession, and we hope that our first step will be through becoming a CIO tonight. We just want to let you guys know that we are also partnering with Girls Who Code, and we will be having a workshop with them on the 20th. So we're really excited about that. If you guys would like to come to that, please let us know, and you're more than welcome to come see, hopefully, the newest CIO in action. Thank you all so much.
Great, thank you. Next we have Noor Gulamin.
Hi, can I also turn on my video? Oh my gosh, thank you. Okay, so hi, my name is Noor Gulamin, and I'm here as a first year to denounce SR 2115, the cancel culture bill. Not only is cancel culture within the context of this resolution completely subjective, this bill makes it frighteningly easy to pick and choose what cancel culture entails. Sorry, I got out of breath. With regard to whereas individuals have been canceled for expressing their political opinion on grounds, this is simply false. No individual at UVA has been suspended or expelled for simply expressing their political opinion. Anyone who has been canceled, whatever that may mean, has merely been and forced to deal with the effects of their words. Discriminatory language is different from political opinions. Within the context of this resolution, it's important that Representative Cabrera does not equate the concept of free speech with saying things without consequence. Additionally, since Representative Cabrera refused to specifically describe what canceled means in this context, is it being deplatformed, unfollowed on social media, being disagreed with? What exactly is Representative Cabrera fighting against in this resolution? With regard to Appendix A, which Nick said on Twitter, and I quote, acts as an exhibit of the cancel culture that students at UVA have participated in. The so-called harassment and bullying listed in Appendix A are covered under free speech because curse words are not hate speech. These aren't examples of cancel culture. Those tweets are in response to blatant homophobia and racism. Criticism from your peers should not be confused with harassment and bullying. No one is required to give anyone a platform if they continue to promote and endorse the ideals of a hate group that has harassed and doxed members of the UVA community. As a member of the public, it's disheartening and frankly shameful to see the responsibility of a representative position be taken so cavalierly. I encourage representatives in the future to come forth with meaningful, useful resolutions that are intended to protect all students of UVA, instead of abusing your power to try and push your own agendas which are independent of students' well-beings. It is irresponsible, dangerous, and frankly embarrassing to weaponize your power as a representative in order to silence those who would disagree with you. I should hope those running for student council this year would take that platform seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jeremy Siegel.
Yeah, can I, oh, there we go. Like a lot of people, I'm also here to talk about SR 2115. You know, quite frankly, it's a total waste of everybody's time. I'm here on a Tuesday night to talk about this instead of, you know, doing work, which I would rather be doing. But Mr. Cabrera seems to be confusing cancel culture for simple consequences. Nowhere in the First Amendment does it tell us that we do not have a right to criticize people or that we have to listen to people when they choose to spew hatred and bigotry and just absolute garbage. And so instead of helping UVA and its vulnerable students, Mr. Cabrera is using his platform to fight an imaginary culture war against a non-existent enemy in what might just be the least substantive aspect of conservative politics. Nobody is after you because you're a conservative. Nobody is after you, period. We just don't like people to be bigoted. Now, the conservative community at UVA or on other campuses is neither marginalized nor oppressed. And just as he has the right to be a conservative and say anything he wants, we also have a right to ignore Mr. Cabrera and criticize his hateful words. So to recap, the First Amendment gives him the right to speak, but it does not compel us in any way to listen to those opinions or compel us not to respond in kind. Any proposal to the contrary, including this resolution, is blatantly anti-free speech and violates our rights. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, we have Clark Canto.
Can you hear me? It says I'm not allowed to unmute myself.
You're good.
Okay. Yeah, so my name is Clark Canto. I'm the president and founding member of the Cavalier Fight Club. I'm joined here tonight by James Easter, another member. I just want to say thank you to everyone involved in processing the CIO application. And we've been talking about doing this for a long time. And we hope we can get a lot of aviation enthusiasts together and do something constructive, build some airplanes, fly, and do some classes, teach people, and bring aviation to people that can't necessarily afford it or wouldn't know about it otherwise. So thanks.
Great, and that concludes public comment.
Okay. We'll now enter legislative session. I'll begin by calling the roll. Quentin Milligan. Thank you. Ryan Alcorn. Thank you. Mehdi Eloisi. Thank you. Matthew Lord. Thank you. Adrian Mamarel. Thank you. Gabriela Hernandez. Thank you. Ziona Bryant. Thank you. Samantha Santana. Samantha Santana. Emma Damaso. Thank you. Evan Stavig. Thank you. Jason Evans. Thank you. Brett Hoffman. Thank you. Andrew Kennedy. Salem Coletta. Thank you. Abid Hussain. Thank you. Samir Mohammed. Thank you. Pratyush Sambaturu. Okay, thank you. Elizabeth Cruz. Thank you. Alexis Allen. All right. Thank you. Helen Smedji. Thank you. Edric Kim. Thank you. Simran Kishore. Simran. Oh, yes. Okay. Good to know. Feel free to just message me during voting as well. Her raise hand function is not working. Akshitha Kalavakanda. Thank you. Ryan Kahn. Thank you. Kyle Woodson. Thank you. Nicholas Cabrera. Thank you. And Bobby Yodzi. Thank you. Wonderful. We'll now entertain our minutes from the previous session. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns about the minutes? Quentin?
Motion to pass.
All right. And
Seconded.
all right. Are there any objections? If you have one, just use your red X button. All right. Seeing none, the minutes are passed. I will now look favorably upon a motion to take SB 21-12 off of the table. Evan.
Motion to take off the table.
Elizabeth?
Second.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there any objections? All right, seeing none, we will now entertain SB 21-12, a bill to amend the bylaws to create a first-generation low-income advocacy board. Ellen spoke on this last week, but I will entertain her again briefly if she wants to say something else.
Yeah, as I said, I think during our last meeting, this is a board that would be comprised of several different organizations that are working with FGLI students, as well as some students from the community at large that will be working with student financial services, advising them on things that could help support students, particularly low-income students. And I think it's a great initiative that's going to hopefully deal with some of the inequalities resulting from students who have low income.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns on SB 21-12? Quentin.
Motion to back.
Kyle.
Seconded.
All right, all in favor, please raise your hands. All right. Okay. Thank you. You can lower your hands. All opposed to SB 21-12? Okay, all abstaining from the vote on SB 21-12. Excellent. SB 21-12 passes. I will now entertain SB 21-13, a bill to approve newly created contracted independent organizations, and I will entertain our VPO, Shafalika Prasad, on that.
Yes, they've got two organizations. You've heard from both of them today, so nothing new. But yeah, I strongly support their applications, and I hope that you guys will vote for it. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
All right. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? Jason?
Motion to vote.
Quentin?
Second.
Okay, fantastic. All right, all in favor of passing SB 21-13, please raise your hand. Keep them up. All right. Yeah, keep them up. Okay. You can take them down now. All opposed? Okay. All right, now all opposed. Oh, so Edric and Brett. Okay. All opposed. All abstaining. Fantastic. SB 21-13 passes. Yes, congratulations to the new CIOs. We'll now enter, oh, sorry, I will now yield to Ryan.
All right, thank you, Abel. We will now entertain SB 21-14, a bill to amend the bylaws to codify the UVA mutual aid network, and I will entertain Abel to speak on the bill.
Thank you, Ryan. The UVA mutual aid network has been in existence for just over a year now. We had our 1-year anniversary last Thursday. To date, we have raised over $70,000 for hundreds of students across the university, and it is a service that I think the entire Student Council Executive Board is proud to introduce to our bylaws. I don't have very much to say as to the mechanics of the bill. The only note is probably that the leadership portion is light, just as the community food pantry's original leadership bylaws were fairly light. There's only a managing director for now, and that officer can appoint other officers at their discretion. Additionally, there is a privacy provision just to make sure that individual aid recipients' identities will never be disclosed, but that there is still accountability for financial transparency within the network. I hope we pass, or at least I hope we table SB 21-14. If you have any objections, now is the time to raise them to me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Abel. And as a reminder, we'll be tabling this. So are there any questions, comments, or concerns? All right, seeing none, I'd look favorably upon a motion to table. Abel?
Motion to table.
Adrian?
Second.
All right, all in favor, we'll now vote on the bill to table the bill. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right, you can put your hands down. All opposed, please raise your hand. All right, and all abstaining, please raise your hand. All right, with that, SB 21-14 is tabled. I will now cede the chair back to Abel.
Thank you, Ryan. All right, we will now entertain SR 21-15, which is a resolution condemning the cancel culture invading the University of Virginia. I will entertain Nick to speak as the author and sponsor. Just as a reminder, you have 3 minutes, and I'll start the time when you start speaking. Raise your hand so we can unmute you.
Can I also put on my video, please? To the University of Virginia. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Nicholas Cabrera, an elected first-year representative to the UVA Student Council. I speak to you today on behalf of my current legislation, SR 21-15, a resolution condemning the cancel culture invading the University of Virginia. Cancel culture, as defined by Merriam-Webster, is the practice or tendency of engaging in mass canceling as a way of expressing disapproval and exerting social pressure. Additionally, we have seen people use big tech platforms, including our very own executive board members, using cancel culture as a guise for political discrimination. This simply does not align with the University of Virginia EOCR non-discriminatory clause and ought to be condemned at large by the Student Council representative body. Nonetheless, people are now afraid to speak out for their rational political beliefs because of the doxing and absurd nature of the comments made by the students of the University of Virginia. I have included Appendix A for that very reason. It acts as an exhibit of some of the cancel culture that students at UVA have participated in, making certain groups, political, religious, and otherwise, feel unwelcome in a university that preaches inclusivity. Let's go through some of them together. At RC Alcorn on Twitter says, Chi Alpha should lose their CIO status. UVA Student Council recently blocked, then unblocked YAF at UVA on Twitter. At Gabby_love_yo says, go F yourself after I personally referred to our university by our founder's name, Mr. Jefferson. And at Noah_strike has said multiple questionable things, which I encourage you to view for yourself, as I don't feel they are needed to be said on this public platform. I have with me 3 small posters. First, give speech a chance. The Student Council has actively worked to try to silence voices that disagree with their own, including our president, who immediately went to Twitter 2 weeks ago drawing false claims about my representative report and future pieces of legislation. Next, tolerance includes listening, which a fellow representative failed to do after stripping SR 21-07 of the threat that the Young Americans for Freedom received on November 24th. I also write in my legislation that a representative from the College of Arts and Sciences substituted Representative Cabrera's legislation under the false pretense that Cabrera's legislation was exclusive to YAF at UVA, when in reality, Cabrera's legislation did condemn all threats and merely cited YAF at UVA as an example victim of verifiable threats and harassment. And lastly, practice the tolerance that you preach. Conservatives on grounds do not get treated with the same standards as others. Calling me bigoted for simply expressing rational political beliefs is, though constitutional, sets precedent for future discrimination and silencing, as this makes individuals afraid to speak out for their beliefs. Again, this legislation protects all people, not just in regards to political beliefs, but also all other factors as outlined by the EOCR non-discriminatory clause. Thank you all. God bless.
Right on time. Thank you. All right. Ryan, go ahead.
Thank you. I didn't know we were supposed to bring posters, so I don't have any. But the whole premise of this resolution is on faulty ground. A recent resolution, my resolution, thank you for addressing it, has already addressed these concerns, and 3 whereas clauses of this resolution are misleading. So I'll go through them. Clause 7, Nick complains that my substitute was based on a false pretense. So I'll clear that up again. His resolution denouncing harassment and online threats was disingenuous when done so on behalf of YAF, the organization that instigated harassment and has refused to state remorse or concern for harm by their followers. YAF also literally destroyed a wall that said BLM on it, so let's remember that. Despite his complaints, Nick actually voted in favor of my substitute resolution, and that resolution has already denounced all forms of harassment against members of the student body and denounced illegal property removal, making this new resolution redundant. His 5th clause, Nick claims that the executive board failed to reconcile matters before heading to social media platforms. His first 2 examples are from myself and from Gabby, who aren't representative board members or aren't executive board members, but actually elected representatives. It's strange that despite being an allegedly strong proponent of free speech, Nick argues that reps can't speak publicly on issues outside of just passing legislation. And also clause 3, Nick claims that individuals have been, quote, canceled, unquote, for expressing their political opinions, yet none of his examples are directed at any individual at all. I highly doubt that any of us would want to live in a society in which we're not allowed to criticize organizations or those in power. Who is Nick referring to when he says individuals have been canceled? Is he saying that people here have lost their right to express their opinions? If he's talking about himself, I would remind him that he's an elected representative and his words and actions are not free from consequences. Being criticized or called out publicly for your ideas and your resolutions, it's not a symbol of cancel culture. It's just evidence that you have bad ideas. So due to the disparate nature and the shaky logic of the whereas clauses, the inability of the resolution to introduce new and meaningful solutions, not to mention the unprofessional use of caps lock and improper punctuation, I'll be voting no on this resolution, and I hope my colleagues will do the same. Thank you.
Also right on time. All right, Ziana, you had your hand up first.
Yes, I don't need my video on. Hi, everyone. My name is Ziana Bryant. I'm a rep from the college. And I just want to list reasons why we should pass this legislation, and I'll be using my full time. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Ryan Kahn, your hand was up next.
Should I have my camera on? All right, bet. So yeah, the last speech kind of summed up most of the points I'm about to make. However, I echo the sentiments of Representative Alcorn. I'll be voting no on this resolution for a variety of reasons, but mainly the problematic narrative surrounding YAF's actions at UVA and Student Council's response, which have fundamentally compromised this legislation and rendered me entirely unable to support it. If you would direct your attention to the third whereas clause, this is presumably referring to members of YAF and other conservative groups. I disagree with the narrative that there are mobs of people hunting for conservatives to sacrifice on social media. Fact of the matter is that some of the members of the UVA community have touted exclusionary ideologies which extend far beyond classical liberalism or conservatism, and it should not be hard to imagine how individuals who identify with groups on the receiving end of such exclusion are upset and in some cases afraid. This isn't cancellation, it's basic accountability. While I would agree in some cases it can be excessive, I would also agree that people with political stances that can be perceived as problematic should face appropriate criticism for such, which is an idea this legislation apparently rejects. Next, if you would refer to the 6th and 7th clauses, which I will be grouping together, once again paints a false narrative that Student Council is an enabler of violence and threats towards UVA students. Ryan Alcorn and many other reps deemed the referenced resolution, which we passed last week from a prior meeting, problematic due to its YAF-centric nature, and substituted it with a very beneficial general condemnation of property theft, bullying, etc. Student Council has repeatedly positioned itself as a fear opponent for discrimination towards anyone, characterizing the council as such due to its reservations over allying with an organization whose members have verifiably sent threats to many BIPOC students and has consistently served as a force to polarize the campus repeatedly would have been problematic. And the overwhelming support the substitute resolution had perfectly encapsulates the council's stance on the issue. I believe in free speech, but a caveat of that is people speaking in opposition to what you are speaking about. This resolution implies that free speech shouldn't be bidirectional. And as a representative body, we should embrace a model for speech where people can, yes, say what they want, but at the same time are open to criticism whenever a group of people finds something dangerous or problematic. The scenarios referenced aren't instances of people picking on conservatives for fun, but a widespread dissent of exclusionary policies and ideologies a small faction of UVA students have made. I genuinely hope that the representative body joins me in rejecting the problematic narrative this legislation pushes, and more legislation centered around a single CIO can be avoided moving forward. Thank you.
All right. Elizabeth, go ahead. And then Ellen's told me she can't raise her hand, so she's going to speak after Elizabeth. Go ahead.
Hi, can I put my camera on? Perfect. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Cruz. I'm a representative from the law school, and I'm going to be voting no on this resolution. I, fully support the statements of Representative Elkhorn, Representative Bryant, Representative Khan. There's not much that I can add that they haven't said, but I just want to point out that this resolution would be limiting the speech rights of students here. And I think as representative body, we have the duty to protect the rights of the students that we serve. So I'll be voting no today, and I hope I have everyone's support on that.
Thank you. Ellen, go ahead.
I just want to add, I think, to make something abundantly clear, like racism is not a political affiliation. I think that's been conflated terribly in this resolution and other instances in which we've talked about some of the interactions that have gone on online. When marginalized students are gaslighted, when they are threatened, when they are not defended when they are threatened, even when the person who initiated those things had some responsibility in it, that is not a reflection of a political affiliation. That's harm to others. And so I think we need to consider that here. Of course, we shouldn't be discriminating based on political affiliation, but that's really not what's at play here in a lot of the examples that Representative Cabrera has mentioned.
Thank you. Gabriella, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to come on here to say really quickly that I just wanted to say that I stand by what I said. It was a message I wrote on my personal Twitter account, which I'm able to do. I personally don't feel like we should be idealizing a slave owner, but if you want to keep going ahead with that, like, do you, but I don't agree with that. So I'm going to stand by what I said.
Okay, thank you. Quentin.
Yeah, I think everyone else summed it up pretty well. I'd just like to add, I'll be voting no. And primarily, I just want to point out, like, cancel culture isn't getting ratioed on Twitter. It's like losing your platform and all those other things that people have mentioned. So yeah, the whole premise of this resolution is just really false.
Okay, thank you. Jason, go ahead.
Thank you. I am voting no on this resolution, and this is my primary and sole reason. To quote the late, great James Baldwin, "We can disagree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist." Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, Kyle and Mehdi, your hands went up at about the same time. Oh, Mehdi, go ahead.
Motion to vote. Seconded.
All right, all in favor of passing SR 21-15, please raise your hand. Okay, please put your hand down. All opposed to SR 21-15, please raise your hand. Okay. And all abstaining. Oh, thank you. Someone, you can put your hands down now, everyone. Okay. All abstaining. Thank you. I love it when the vote counts add up across votes. SR 21-15 fails. I'll now read back the vote count from our previous session. SB 21-12 passed with 23 yeas. SB 21-13 passed with 23 yeas, and SB 21-14 was tabled with no objections to tabling it. SR 21-15 passed with, or failed with 3 yeas, 19 nays, and 1 abstention. We will now exit legislative session.
All right, everyone, we're in the last portion of our meeting, which is community concerns. As a reminder, this is a chance for non-representatives to speak and voice their concerns. And if you have something you want to say, just raise your hand and I will call on you. Okay, Victoria.
Do I have a time limit?
Let's say for the sake of time, let's stick to around 2 minutes.
Okay. So I'm not reading anything. I just wanted to say that, so there's no one in YAF at UVA, there's no UVA student that, at least that I'm aware of, and I'm confident that no one has threatened anyone from our chapter. Also, I heard a lot about consequences. Everyone is referring to YAF as having incited violence because a public meeting was reposted on Twitter, and there are consequences for people on this Zoom call saying explicit, vulgar things to other people and yelling and disagreeing. That's all free speech, that's fine, and that was put online because these meetings are public. So we didn't incite violence because of your own public video. So it's just not fair to call YAF all of these untrue things, bigoted, all of these names, without actually speaking to any of our members about it. I mean, I have spoken to Ellen and Abel about some issues, but it's just unfair to suggest that we incited violence. It really is. We have not threatened anybody. It's just, there has been inappropriate behavior, I think, inappropriate tweets, but that, of course, it's free speech. So I'm merely saying there are consequences, of course, and you can't call consequences to your actions relating it to an incitement of violence from YAF. That's just an incorrect correlation, and you're putting that correlation on Nick, but not on yourselves. So I just wanted to say that.
I think if the clarification helps, this footage was put on the platform of the parent organization for your chapter. And when it was done and it incited threats, the member of YAF in our organization actually retweeted a lot of the videos that were inciting the threats and harassment and continued to voice support, even after it was clear that members were being victimized. I see that as, in some ways, incitement of violence. Christopher?
Hi, please excuse if there's background noise, but hi, my name is Chris Dalio, and I'm a first-year student here at UVA. I'm coming to this platform because it sees I have no other choice and places to voice this concern. I'm here to speak against the extreme discrepancy in which the UBE is enforcing their rules against Gavin and Abel's campaigns. On March 4th, I wrote an email to the UBE regarding their decision to instruct the presidential campaigns to remove their tweets with links to the petitions that Gavin and Abel needed to get on the ballot. I asked for a specific citation of their rules to be provided in a responding email, and after having to resend the email to 2 different email addresses in hopes of a prompt response, all I received was an email with a nasty tone and no substantive answer. The responding party failed to cite where exactly in these rules these tweets violated regulations, but rather spent their time diminishing the legitimacy of my concerns because I was, quote, not a candidate. I sent another email 6 days ago asking where the rules were that the UBE was claiming that were being violated, and I have not heard back since. Still today, Abel's original tweet stands, as he did not ever remove the petition for signatures as Gavin did when instructed. When I made another complaint through a different forum, I was told that since Abel now had the ability to repost the tweet if he wanted to, being that the campaign window had started, there can be no consequence for the earlier violation. The UBE is diminishing the concerns of voting students and has demonstrated they only want to ensure Gavin follows the enforcement of their rules, and if Abel gets away with it, that is so be it. Now they are slandering Gavin's campaign by publicizing an investigation into an email that misgendered Abel by stating their investigation is into Gavin's campaign when the investigation should be exclusively into the person who wrote the email, being they are not an official campaign member. Let me make it clear that misgendering someone is never okay. But the UBE is well aware of how their publication of this investigation paints Gavin's campaign to be liable for this misgendering when Gavin did not write the email and the person who did is not an official member of Gavin's campaign. Last night during the presidential debate, Abel made a statement after the discussion of Nick Cabrera's minority status stating, I'm not going to comment on Nick, but I just want to say you can be Latinx and white. At face value, this statement seemed to disvalue Nick's racial identity. Let me make it clear, after giving Abel a chance to explain what he meant by this, he made it clear that he did not intend to do such. I ask for the UBE to do the same due diligence and gather the proper information about the guilty parties and caveat all their publications with the fact that the person who wrote the email in question is not a member of Gavin's campaign. An apology is surely in order for Abel, who is misgendered, but is also in order for Gavin, who is being painted for liable as such. Let me also state I commend the UBE for many of their efforts this election season, and this statement does not disqualify them or praise for many of their good efforts.
Ellen, do you mind if I respond really briefly to some of the factual allegations?
Well, I'm sorry, this is a UBE jurisdiction issue, and so I'm going to say this isn't something that Stedco can really address. Reagan?
I would just like to provide a point of clarification to something that Ellen said to Mrs. Victoria. Including photographs of individuals who were recorded who chose not to share their cameras and then posting them to an international organization would also be an indication of an incitement of violence, or if not an incitement of violence, definitely an incitement of harassment and also doxing of family members who were not at all involved in the situation. Thank you.
Hey, could the people who have their hands up, if all of you have spoken already, can you put your hand down if... Okay. Victoria?
So using Twitter and reposting a video that was posted by student council is not an incitement of violence. And the point that you're making was actually downplayed by Representative Alcorn, saying that nothing that has happened to Nick is that bad, and Nick has been being conservative is not a problem. I'm not quoting Representative Alcorn, but if putting up pictures from something that someone has said is inciting violence, then what would you say to all of the photos and memes and rumors and gossip and bullying and everything that has been put on Twitter and in group chats about Nick? Is that not an incitement of violence? It's really shocking. It's absolutely shocking that reposting a public video is somehow our CIO, which was approved by student council, inciting violence. I mean, we have absolutely not threatened anyone here. Everyone who spoke those words at that meeting is responsible for having that reaction. There are consequences to your own speech. We all support free speech here. I was glad to hear that at this meeting, but Nick's legislation does not denounce free speech, does not cancel free speech. It is simply saying that there is unfair bias against conservatives at this school that is not treated with the same standards as this council treats a lot of other issues. So if we're being honest, like I said when I spoke, let's just be honest about the biases that we all have, and that it's just not fair the way some of the representatives are reacting to information. So sorry to be wordy, but thank you.
Cece?
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to that really quickly and say that it is an incitement of violence, especially when things are being targeted at people of marginalized identities. Being conservative is not a marginalized identity within this nation or within this university. And it's a changeable identity. It's not a fixed thing, and it's not something that it's not a protected class. People were directly being violent and invoking online harassment for students that was incredibly racist. And once again, members of your organization retweeted these things and chose not to condemn them. There are also things that show that your organization supports things like this. For example, you created a Berlin Wall and then chose to smash it down that had the words Black Lives Matter painted on it, which is incredibly hurtful for Black students at this university. You painted over a memorial for Breonna Taylor, if I remember correctly. So these things are pretty consistent with a lot of the things that you've done in the past. And it's not the same thing to target a marginalized student based on their racial identity as it is to target a student based on their honestly poor political takes.
Thank you, Cece. Community concern is not designed for back and forth. So if anybody has a new concern, please raise your hand. Otherwise, if it's related to this conversation, I see you put your hands down. Christopher?
Hi, this is not a new concern. I mean, this is not a back and forth, merely just kind of an elaboration, but I'd just like to say that my statement was directed at the UBE and their enforcement, even though I do take issue with how Abel's campaign has followed the rules. Ultimately, it is the UBE's job to enforce such. Saying that, I encourage Ellen to give Abel a chance to respond as he requested to do so. Also, let me state that I think it is worthy to look into Gavin's campaign to see if the statement in question is related to a member of his campaign, but I take a large issue with the fact of how the UB is publicizing this investigation with no caveat that the person who wrote this email is confirmed not a member of Gavin's campaign. Thank you.
Okay, since it's been asked, then yes, Abel, you can respond.
There were 3 separate issues in Christopher's community concern, which I take very seriously. The first had to do with the signature petition, as well as my tweet associated with its publicization. The second was on misgendering and the email that was sent en masse to Greek life to mislead people about my beliefs in regards to Greek life. And then the third was on the question of race and ethnicity. In terms of the tweets and petitions, the major distinction between what I did and my opponent, Mr. Oxley, did was that I did not retweet, message, or actively share my petition signature link after I had hit the threshold of 100 signatures. My opponent did the opposite. He continued to message people directly with the signature link, in fact, reaching hundreds more students than he was supposed to, which constituted early campaigning by UBE's own interpretation. I might have missed a request for me to take the tweet down. I will do that now. I did not know I was supposed to do that, and I do apologize if that was a violation. On the misgendering allegation, I respect the desire to ensure that we are accurately attributing that sign of disrespect and microaggression to the proper actor. What I picked up on, and what I hope you do as well, is that in the opening line of that email, the author mentioned that he had spent considerable time with Gavin over the course of the week, and then was essentially campaigning on his behalf as a surrogate. That author never reached out to me. It follows that that campaigning was done on behalf of Gavin. And so any misgendering that was associated with it needs to be associated with his campaign. Further, he did not properly gender me with he, him pronouns during the debate last night. In fact, he used they, them pronouns exclusively, and that debate was recorded. So you're welcome to check and contrast that to his false statement released earlier today. Finally, on Nicholas Cabrera, as I mentioned to you, in our conversation online, I have no idea how Mr. Cabrera identifies in terms of his race. I felt that it was important, though, as Mr. Oxley insinuated, that every Latinx person is also specifically a person of color or racial minority, that's not the case. You can be Latinx and white. That is a very important distinction between race and ethnicity, and it's one that my Latinx friends of color have encouraged me to learn about and make, so I wanted to make sure that was part of the discussion. Nick, if you feel like I disregarded your identity in any way, I sincerely apologize. It was never my intention to do that, though I realize the impact of my words during that debate. So Christopher, I hope that clears things up for you. I will write an email to UBE just to make sure that my tweet is all right, but I can also, delete it if my having petition signatures up is a problem for you. But I feel that the other two concerns you raised were misguided.
Okay. Regan, is your concern something that has not been discussed before?
I did want to take a minute to respond to Ms. Spioto, but I do not have to.
Yeah, just we're trying to focus on new topics now. Matt?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Matt Bagger. I'm a first year and a student in the college, as well as a member of the Student Life Committee here in Stuco. I just wanted to commend all of the reps here tonight. I know some of these meetings have been taxing over the last few months for all of you, and it's been just kind of weighing on everybody. So I thank you all for your leadership. The one thing I would just want to point out is I want to thank you for passing some meaningful legislation tonight and voting no on legislation that has frankly been wasting our time and energy as students and as representatives. I'm hoping that we can focus more on the future, less in-house bickering, less things that, are not necessarily super important to the totality of the student body. Serving on the Student Life Committee, I've talked to a number of people, just their priorities, and I hope that the legislation going forward by the current administration and then whoever will be the administration next year can focus on things such as, making sure we have in-person classes, that our professors and workers here at the university are being vaccinated and have the resources they need to start the school year next fall, and also just things related to gathering size limits, like removing them in order to, improve social life and student well-being. So I just want to thank you all tonight and giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Well, as always, feel free to reach out to any of us on exec. If any concerns come up throughout the week, we'd always love to hear from you. And yeah, have a great week, get through midterms, and stay safe. See you all next week. And remember to vote.